In this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, the Social Democratic Front has denied any claims or denied allegations of any existing alliance between the party and the ruling CPDM political party. And also we take you to the northwest region of the country, where heavy downpour in the town of Bamenda leaves pupils of government primary school Matrafon without a classroom to receive lessons. And also in the central region of the country, disgruntled workers of the University Teaching Hospital that is in the central region of the country have shifted their demands from the payment of salary arrears to better working conditions. You are watching the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening once again, viewers. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. We begin right away like we announced in the headlines in the northwest region of the country, where lessons have come to a standstill in government primary school Matrafon after lessons or classrooms were swept away by winds following days or hours of heavy downpour. And the school authorities are soliciting government's intervention, as Jonathan Babla tells us in the following report.
These images depict the level of frustration of pupils of government primary school Matrafon in the northwest regional capital, Bamenda. The building, constructed with bamboos where they were receiving lessons before now, was blown down by wind during a heavy downpour.
The roof of the school has been blown down by wind, and the children presently are helpless. As you will see, they look more or less refugees in their hometown.
The pupils reportedly ran out of the classrooms when the building was about collapsing on them.
I was inside the class writing. After when the rain started, we come and hide inside the classes. After the roof started bouncing, we come out and hide under the roof. The roof started coming down, don't go up that way. I went to go out to go and pee. Then I wanted to come back. This class was started falling. It was funny and go down there.
This school has been going through thin and thick for over 15 years after a contract to construct classrooms in the school was awarded to a contractor who did not finish his work.
GS Matrafon was created as far back as 1995, and the contract was granted to one company called the Shura Company, who constructed 4 classrooms up to the level of the roof and disappeared.
The mayor of the Bamenda 2 subdivision has added his voice to that of the school's administration to call on government to remedy the situation without delay. It should be noted that this incident has occurred at a very crucial moment when the pupils have just embarked on the last term of the 2012-2013 school year.
In the wake of that crisis, local administrative authorities are seeking ways to rehabilitate the institution close to €8 after the Parents Teachers Association, the PTA, managed to put up the structures we could see on our screens. And let's now listen to the DO for Bamenda 2, Balik Awa Fidelis. He spoke to our Bamenda-based correspondent, Ginny Edmond.
And also to plead to Public Works that Bamenda 2 had been given 2 classrooms to be constructed at government primary school in Tinkak. I come from here. I noticed that government school in Tinkak has a number of classrooms which are not being used. And so I made the phone of Mancon, explained the situation to him. It was good if those 2 classrooms could be built in this place, government school Matrafon. And so I wrote a letter which was visited by the inspector. I took it down to the ministry, and presently the ministry is giving attention to DACOR that the movement of the 2 classrooms from Tinkak be taken to this place. Now that this has happened and the roof is gone, I think I will just beg the Cameroonian people to humbly appeal that the minister does it fast enough so that we can at least construct the 2 classrooms here for the children to get back to school. We may have the future president of this country among these children. You may have the minister here. You may have the prime minister. You may have the head of state's wife among these children. So
the situation of pupils of government primary school Matrofon that is in Bamenda Northwest region of the country, that was actually the mayor of Bamenda 2, Mr. Abalik Awafideli, speaking to our Bamenda-based correspondent Jeannie Edmond. Meanwhile, management of the University Teaching Hospital, we are in the center region of the country, began paying workers today, but some personnel have continued with their strike actions. They are demanding better working conditions, as Roland Akon tells us in the following report.
The management of the University Teaching Hospital, CHU, is paying arrears of salaries owed striking personnel of the hospital. While workers who receive their salaries at the hospital have been paid, those paid at banks have not been paid due to delays in bank transactions. But the strike action continues at the hospital, with the striking personnel demanding payment of code pass, arrears, allowances of income generated by the hospital. The striking personnel are also demanding improved working conditions at the hospital through the application of the collective convention. Retired and retrenched workers of the hospital have also joined the striking workers, demanding payment of their retrenchment and retirement dues. The management of CHU has blamed the current crisis rocking the hospital on a slump in the monthly income of the hospital since 2009.
In the southwest region of the country, precisely in Limbe, the syndicate of taxi drivers precisely in Limbe 1 recently took to the streets after the announced elections of the said syndicate were suspended by the DO for Limbe 1, and reports say the elections of the syndicate of taxi drivers were suspended, most of them do not own required documents. A Limbe-based correspondent Davison Maimo has the details of that report.
This group of taxi drivers expressed dissatisfaction that the divisional officer for Limbe 1 subdivision, Jean Foy Vita, had cancelled the elections to take place, yet to a date to be announced. But why was the election cancelled? Both the administration and officials of the taxi driver syndicate at the regional level refused to talk to the press. However, this is what filtered at the scene. The drivers said the administration cancelled elections on grounds that they have not paid their vehicles' document, questioning the administration if drivers have become vehicles owner. If not of other drivers from Boya and Tico, the story would have been different, as some furious Limbe Township taxi drivers barricade the original president of the syndicate, saying that he is aware of what is going on with the administration. The incumbent president is also being alleged for refusing to present his auditing report for the past 5 years. 3 candidates, including the incumbent, are vying for the president post of SN Shotak Limbe branch.
Meanwhile, commercial as well as other activities have come to a standstill still in the town of Limbe after a mixed control team launched the checking of roadworthiness of vehicles in the said region of the country. Vehicles without the required documents were simply stopped from circulating the town of Limbe. And Davison Maimo once again in the following report tells us that 90% of vehicles plying the Limbe 1 roads are not having the necessary documents.
The street looks like that of the 2008 February upheavals, but the drivers are not on strike. They have been sent off the road indirectly by a mixed control team as ordered by government to check on vehicles that evict paying their document. City dwellers, including school children, have to do it on foot to their job sites and schools. Just within Limbe 1, which is the heart of the entire Limbe municipality, more than 3 controls is being mounted. Taxation officials confirmed that more than 90% of taxis in Limbe do not have their complete documents.
Response are not that positive. We have realized that 3/4 or 90% of the taxi drivers in town, they are without documents. We are trying our best to bring them in order. So many of them have got vignettes.
The control, which is not limited to taxis but all vehicles, is seen to have pushed commercial motorbikes riders plying the entire city.
We do check vignettes, we check insurance, categories, part fee for taxis, patterns. We impound the vehicle or pay the documents here. That's why we have all the departments that we are working. There's taxation, there is transport, there are council people around. So if you need any documents, we give you here.
If this is to continue for a week, which is imperative, the economy of the city might as well witness a drop.
And in the central region of Cameroon, the final vote counting of the April 14 election of senators in the country has begun. Today in the central region of Cameroon, like I earlier said, as members of the National Vote Counting Commission began meeting in Yaoundé, and legal advisor of the Social Democratic Front used the opportunity to deny allegations that the party is working in alliance with the ruling CPDM. Roland Akona, Center Bureau, tells us more in the following report.
Honorable Joseph Mbandam is a representative of the SDF party in the National Vote Counting Commission. He is saying there is no alliance between the SDF and the CPDM party.
What has transpired in the Northwest is clear indication that it is impossible to have a pact. And the pretentious acts of magnanimity that were demonstrated in a situation where it was not necessary, because the door was already open, and then you go to force the door.
We sought to know from him what sort of agreement they had before the election of senators.
We reciprocated by giving also our votes in another region. So that is solved. The question is balanced, and we are on a new pedestal.
Flambeau Ngayab is a representative of the NUDP in the commission. He is refusing to comment on the betrayal of his party alliance with the CPDM. Votes of CPDM supporters were given to the SDF party. The CDU representative expressed disappointment over the decision by the CPDM, urging its supporters to vote for the SDF party in the West region.
Il y a une nouvelle alliance qui a vu le jour.
Ibrahim Tabamala is representing the governing CPDM party in the commission. He says CPDM supporters are serene while waiting for the final counting and proclamation of the results of the election of senators by the Supreme Court.
Que ce que nous avons obtenu sur le terrain puisse être validé au niveau national.
The Vote Counting Commission has 5 days to count all the votes cast during the April 14 election of senators.
Roland Akoni, stay with us to add that the Special Criminal Court has adjourned to May 18, 2013, the case opposing the former Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Ephraim Inoni, and the court is through with the first count of the case and is due to begin the second phase of it in the next hearing of the case. Roland Akoni tells us more.
The Special Criminal Court is already gone with the first count of charges against former PM Ephraim Inoni, and it's about beginning with count 2 of the case.
The second count is that, Minister of State Atarame Barra and former Prime Minister Inoni misappropriated 1,400 and something million. So that's what they're saying. They are saying that it's a surplus of payments made in favor of Ansett Worldwide, and that amounts to misappropriation of funds. So that's what the second count is all about.
In the first count, the former PM is accused of siphoning 1.7 million francs CFA by circumventing the rules of the award of contracts while he was Deputy Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, charges which the Chief of Bakingili has denied. Defense counsels are requesting the court to summon the management of Standard Chartered Bank to produce some documents in court.
We made a request under Section 346 of the Criminal Procedure Code that the President should invite or summon the General Manager of Standard Chartered Bank Cameroon or its representative to come and give evidence and tender some documents, because we have been unable to have Standard Chartered Bank certify some of our documents. So we decided to apply for the court to summon the General Manager or a representative to come and produce the originals of.
Roland Akon reporting from Yaoundé Central region of the country. Now back here in the economic capital Douala, ravaging flames are said to have consumed almost all the content of a business premises in Akwa here in Douala. That was yesterday. The incident reportedly ignited from a gas bottle, and a local firefighting brigade managed to put out the flames. And just to note that enormous material damage was also recorded. And in the wake of that fire incident, it should be noted that many fire incidents have also occurred in many parts of the city of Douala and also in the west region of the country, as well as other parts of Cameroon, some being attributed to the constant blackouts reported on daily basis in across the country. And the cause, of course, it was the cause of the said incident which occurred in Akwa Douala that was yesterday is due to gas bottle. And we shall be coming back to that, of course, in our subsequent news card. We take you out of Cameroon, where former and longest-serving British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was today given her last respect. Thousands of people turned out at the St. Paul's Cathedral to witness the funeral of Baroness Thatcher. And on that note, we talk sports before we go, where the 16th edition of All University Games kicks off in less than 3 days amidst complaints of infrastructure at the Ngaoundéré University to host the sports jamboree. And we hear only the football field has so far been rehabilitated 72 hours to the official kickoff of the games. And there are also reports of how the school canteen alone would not be sufficient enough to take care of the feeding of the over 25,000 athletes who take part in the event. Meanwhile, the rector of the University of Ngaoundéré has assured all the athletes and also school administrators that he would put everything in place before the event begins. That is going to be on Saturday 20th, 2013. That does it for this segment of the news, but up next is Talking Point. Thanks indeed, viewers, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. Since Monday to now, we have been talking the just ended senatorial elections in the country, and today is not going to be an exception. And we invited our guests tonight within the context, of course, of the senatorial elections. The final vote counting exercise started today in the central region of the country, but that's not what we are going to be talking about. Good evening, Mr. Yam Timber Dominic. You are, of course, a member of the civil society, and thanks indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Like Elia said, we are not going to be talking about the final vote counting exercise, which started today in the central region of the country. We are going to talk about the issue of order to vote by various political parties. We know that before the elections took place, the CPDM had ordered its municipal councillors in the West region to vote for the SDF. That was a similar situation to SDF municipal councillors here in the littoral region. So do you think the order was being respected by the various municipal councillors in the country, according to you?
No, I can't tell you exactly if the order was followed by all the municipal councillors. But what we know is that this is a kind of bargainings that can occur in the political life. So we have parties who can assess all their interests in various regions and in various and see what is at stake and decide to bargain on certain matters. That's what they have done. It is something normal, something that can occur anywhere, anytime.
So it's very normal for it to happen.
Yes, of course.
A ruling government and an opposition.
Yes, people should understand that this country is not the country of the ruling party. It is not the country of the opposition. It is a country of all Cameroonians. So this move should be interpreted in the best way that I think it should, meaning that once upon a time, in 30 years later, we'll say once upon a time, the ruling party and the leading party of opposition sat together, make a bargain to move the country ahead. Let us not think about CPDM or SDF. Let's think about the Senate. That's what is most important for us. We need that Senate because it is the best guarantee of institutional peace to our country. Once the Senate is set up, we will know that this is how the power will be handed over to anyone who will, after the leave of the current president. He will leave one day anyway. And now we will know that there will be the president of the Senate who can take power for a certain time and organize elections. And we will know that if the president is not there today, someone will step up and the country will continue to run.
So according to you, it's but normal if maybe the SDF says that its municipal councillors should vote for the CPDM. So you are confirming the fact that there was actually an alliance?
No. It is not necessarily an alliance. People should be very careful with words.
How do you describe that?
It is just by a bargain. It is political bargain. You should know that in political life, people can discuss at a certain moment, about certain issues and considering certain stakes. What it at stake, they discuss, they say, okay, we can bargain and do this. I'm able to give you this and you will give me that. Sometimes, or most of the time, people only think about their own interest. But this time, I think that we should praise CPDM and SDF. And their people should stop misinterpreting what has been done. What we people think has been done is good. Because we are not looking about CPDM and SDF. CPDM and SDF can even not be part of the political life in years to come. But Cameroon will still be there because we Cameroonians will still be there.
That brings to the question I wanted to ask you next. Like, voting, is it an obligation or a right?
Sometimes there is really no difference between obligation and right. But first of all, it is a right. Everybody has a right to vote. If you have been, defined,
and to the municipal councillors, it was an obligation.
It was. What I say is that we should never be in a country where people are obliged to do anything unless they are paid for that.
So
civil servant, for example, civil servant, it is an obligation for them to do their work. What we have seen, that classrooms have collapsed. We should ask all the civil servants involved in this they should be accountable for that. They should tell us what happened. But a municipal councillor, it is a right for him to vote. It is not an obligation.
So you are telling me that maybe asking municipal councillors to vote for a particular party is not correct, right?
If
because
they are
obliging them to vote for a particular
No,
party.
it is just a call. It is just a call. And these municipal councillors, they should be disciplined people. I think that all these parties have rules. They have constitutions. They have rules, and the members of these political parties should follow the rules and should respect their hierarchy. If the hierarchy said, we have discussed with this party and decided to have a bargain with them, then they should do it. It is discipline.
And you should, of course, know about the outing of the president of the NUDP political party, Bello Boba Maigari, who is feeling betrayed.
This party is not important. It is not a major player of the political scene in
What
Cameroon.
do you mean by it's not important?
If you have a party whose number of parliamentarians is been still slowing, we cannot talk with them.
No, they had a chance to win, or maybe even though the results are not out yet.
Let's get the result. If they win, it's a good thing. But I said, what is the most important thing, the most important parties we should talk about now It's the CPDM and the SDF.
I
Please,
think you're not talking democracy there, according to
no,
you.
it is. That's exactly what democracy is. Have they done what they should do to gather people with them? No. Do they have enough municipal councillors to have senators? Maybe, I don't know. Do they have parliamentarians? I don't know. But they have. I think they have few. So it is. People should know this. You are important in the political arena if you have mandates. The mandates of the president, the mandate of parliamentarians, the mandates of municipal councillors. If you have none, you are not important as a party. People should know that. But you can be a very important player in the civil society. So if we want to talk about what is at stake today for Cameroon, we will talk about CPDM and SDF, because these two parties can come to a bargain that will help us set up our Senate, and this Senate is one of the best institutional guarantee for peace in this country.
And it should be only between the CPDM and the SDF, like
I don't see the other parties really important in this equation. What we have is that we have these two political parties that can sit down and talk. The others, I don't know what they will come to say. What will they come to say? Do they have enough power to discuss with the others? That's what political arena is.
Thanks indeed, Mr. Yam Timber Dominic, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
I'm the one to thank you. I'm always very happy to talk about my country.
Society, and we thank you so much for coming. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us tonight as well in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening and have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs.